Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to our conversations that are all around mental health. We are here on day 3 of the Global Wellness Challenge. Thank you so much for contributing your time and effort and interest and passion and motivation and inspiration towards yourself and others in this beautiful community for the betterment of mental health across the globe. So I just wanted to start by saying thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be part of this journey with you, for us to be able to share our wisdom and our knowledge and our awareness and tools and techniques to be able to help with mental health. And we're really excited to be here. We've talked on World Mental Health Day alongside Dalai Lama, Deepak Chopra, Jane Goodall, many others about this beautiful conversation of mental health and the things that we can do to reduce the stigma and really start to understand the things that we can do for our unique selves, and also how we can actually start to turn and flip that conversation from things around dysfunction and issues and dramas to actually positive ways that we can actually harness the power of our mind and really live our full potential on this planet. And we spoke at one of our sessions around the fact that we're all this biology, and we're here, we've chosen to be in this body for this particular reason in this lifetime, right here, right now. And we have this incredible opportunity to be able to understand what our capacity is to really live our full potential. And that's what we're doing this 10 days, is really using and harnessing the power of technology to help us understand our natural rhythms, our natural flow, our natural capacity to do what we're here to do, and just to experience what it's like to be living in that flow state when you can tap into that. So I'm really excited to be able to share a little bit more about that with you today. And today we really focused on stress and resilience on day 3. That's been our big focus, and I just want to do a little recap of what's happened throughout the day. I'm hoping that all of you have had a chance to reflect or go deep at some point throughout today and engage in that to really look at improving or reducing your stress and improving your resilience, ability to be able to cope with stress. And just to understand, again, the mechanics here for those who missed this morning's session, there's a lot of different things that happen to us every day. These are called epigenetic factors or epigenetic influences, things outside of us, outside of our genes, that actually affect and influence our genes. And this is the foods that we eat. It's a concept or a field of study called nutrigenomics, and it's the way the foods we eat change our genes. The social interactions we have, the people we hang out with, the way our conversations happen. These are shown and proven to be causing stress or reducing stress in our physiological systems. Our environments, our indoor environments and our outdoor climates impact us significantly in our physical stress and even psychological mental stress throughout our day. Our mind, the way that we're programmed, the way we think, the way that we perceive the world, the way that we have either perspective or context or neither of the above, really influences how we see the world and how our experience of reality is. The amount of sleep we get impacts us significantly. What we do with our time and how we use our genius to the best capacity versus not, which really comes back to purpose and passion and flow, and the way that we move our body. These are all major areas that impact us in terms of who we are, in terms of how we show up and how we actually feel in a state of health or dis-ease on our journeys. So we're going to be covering and considering all these things in a really simple way as we go throughout this next 10 days and in our entire lives, whether we're aware of them or not, whether we think of them or not. These are the things that impact us every single day in terms of stress and how we can be resilient to use those to our advantage. And this was just a recap from this morning, so just a little bit of the mechanics around stress. We all experience stress. We're designed every single day, every single hour, every single minute of our life, there is a stress on our body. It may be the temperature changed and we got cold or it got hot. That's a stress. Our body has to adapt to that. It's a physical stress and physiological stress, but our body has to adapt to that. It might be a mental stress or a psychological stress that happens with a conversation or experience or a perception of something that we have, but we're constantly going through these dynamic natures of stress. So stress is normal, it's healthy, and it's a part of life. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that. The things that we don't like so much for our body or our mind is when the stress is too much and too intense, or it's too prolonged and doesn't change, it stays there for too long. And so what we're looking to do today, particularly on this day, and obviously this next 10 days, is harness the power of understanding how we can use stress in the right ways to keep us in a space of flow. And this is how we can actually use and focus the right timing of our biology, the right timing of our psychology, and how our natural rhythms and clocks work throughout the day to really stay in that flow state. This understands how we can be really resilient and reduce stress significantly, especially our perception of stress, which is mostly our psychological stress, as to how that goes. And again, we can be completely busy. You can be working 16-hour days, listening to this right now, and still be in a state of flow and not be experiencing or perceiving psychological stress. That's what we're looking for, is for us to be able to understand that. And we did talk about that in one of our talks, about to be able to have perspective, to be able to detach from the circumstances, to be the observer of what's actually happening, immediately helps reduce stress because it takes that onus off of you. To be able to have the context to understand what's happening, meaning it's not actually happening to you, it's an experience that's happening, it's just happening, period. And you happen to be involved in that experience, but it's not personal, it's not about you. And again, that can help detach things when you understand the context of what's happening. And then, of course, the way you perceive what's happening is starting to bring into the filters of our beliefs and our meaning. And that also can help be changed at any moment in time if you wish, so that whatever's happening in your life that you might perceive as stressful can actually be perceived as not stressful. So there's kind of multiple layers here where we can have big wins in the space of stress, and to start to harness and master these is what this 10 days together is all about. One of the other big things we spoke about this morning is recovery. So recovery is actually the ability to refuel or refill your resiliency. And so the more you can recover, the more you top up your resiliency, the more you get more resilience points in the bank, and you can use those at any later time. So recovery is one of the big focuses for today. And recovery is not just going to sleep. It's when you can rest. It's when you can meditate. It's when you're eating and taking time for some mindful nutrition. It's when you're even moving your body, when you're doing exercise in a nice, easy way. Things like yoga, tai chi, breath work, etc., are really great time. So please get some time to the recovery zone. It'll be improving your resilience significantly. So this is just the mechanics here, a recap, and hopefully this awareness can be helpful in helping you with your resilience and your recovery as you go. And so this was our things that we set for today, our goal that we set, the best time and the best way for you to perform and rest. So when should you rest? This is understanding you've got a beautiful schedule that's here, inside of your Shay app. And again, the Shay app literally just scans you on the outside to understand you on the inside. It's just like an interpretation tool that can help you understand what your natural flow and rhythms are like throughout each day. And then the things that you can do about that to really resonate with your natural neurotype, your frequencies, or your natural biotype or health type, which is your body as well. So have a look through your schedule. This is under the Genius section in your app. It'll help you understand the best ways for you to be in flow. It'll help you understand when you can rest. So, sleeping and preparing for your day in the mornings, meditating, shutting down your mind, sleeping at night. It's got specific times that work for you. Again, this is different for everybody. So check in there and be quite surprised and often blown away when you actually start to focus your life in those areas and in those timeframes, how things change so significantly. So we've also got in here when you should perform, because resting is really important to refuel your resilience. But obviously in your daily life, you're doing things and going about your day. To perform and actually to be in that state of flow is the most amazing thing for all of us to achieve. So it'll actually help you understand in here, using your mental focus between 10 and 12 for this example here, organizing tasks between 8 and 10, doing management between 12 and 2, getting into details between 2 and 4, doing creative exercises or activities or creative genius to flow between 4 and 6 p.m., reflection 5 to 6 p.m. These are how specific the time frames and time windows will be to help match your different neurotypes and biorhythms in your body. So you can actually plan your day to be in flow. And all of us do these things throughout the day. We usually just go about it and just do it whenever they show up. This is us actually being able to say, wow, I wonder if I could just reshuffle some things in my day to try and make them work in those time zones and see what happens. I just invite you to see what happens. The state of flow you're able to be in is incredible. We've done so much research on this and it's phenomenal, the results that you can see. And of course, the compensation that we've got here is life is life. Life happens. We don't live in bubbles. You can't do these things perfectly every day. So just take note of what's there. And if you do have the opportunity in those times to actually start to make that meaningful, if it tells you to prepare for the day or be calm and easy in the morning, then if you're in a morning meeting at work, then let people know, hey, guys, I'm going to take a little bit of time to wind up this morning. Don't expect an immediate response from me. If you're asking questions and want my feedback, let me just mull on it for a bit and I'll get back to you as the day goes on the next couple of hours. Just using the knowledge of yourself and how you're wired, your biology is wired, to help you actually show up in the best ways possible to reduce expectations, to increase acceptance of yourself and others. So just a few little tips here around our health type wheels. So once again, all of us in the world end up somewhere as part of humanity in this phenotype representation. And we've been able to help just bring some awareness into people that exist that are similar to others. So if you're an activator, it means there's a lot of people like you. Nobody is the same as you at all, but there's a lot of people like you that are very different to the opposite side of the circle. And so if you're an activator, and you'll see this in your app, if you click on the left side and have the two little lines, it'll tell you at the top what your health type is, so what part of the wedge you fall into. And so if you happen to be in here, you're predisposed to need to move more, to be more active, to be more fiery, to be in the moment. And if you don't express and don't keep things moving, things tend to build up and not go so well, and you might have a lot of outbursts or have a lot of illness or issues that come from that. So some tips for you for today, if you haven't done this already, just move your body. You can do this right now while we're talking. You can do this when you get home from work, wherever you are in the world. Just move your body at some stage in some way. Take a 15-minute lie down if you get a chance to do that. That is just resting for you is so important, because you're so go. You guys just go, 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 go. If you can take a rest, it refuels you so much and your resilience as well. And if you can slow down for your meals and snacks, often you guys are so go-getters that you don't take a chance to just stop and be more mindful when you start to digest, which will be really, really helpful for your physiology and for your psychology. So that's a little tip for activators. If you're a diplomat, take it slow in the morning. Hopefully you're able to listen to this in the morning and take it slow. If not, do so tomorrow. Take your time to get going. Even if you have to get up early, just take it slow in the mornings. Don't just rush into crazy, hectic, reactive stuff at first thing at 5 or 6 in the morning. Take your time. Take yourself a few hours to get going and to really plan out your day if you can, because if you're organized in advance mentally, the day gets very easy and stress is very low. If you're not organized, things seem very, very stressful if they get thrown at you, because you tend to have a psychology that needs to be a bit more planned. And if stuff's thrown at you too quickly, you actually start to be like, oh, this is really stressful. I just need some time to sort of get my head around this and understand this. So again, planning and scheduling really helps. And if you get some time in nature, it's the most fruitful thing for your soul as diplomats. Out of all the different people, please try and get some time in nature. Crusaders, if you're a crusader, stretch and breathe. You're the most tense and rigid with your muscular structures. Your tendons, your muscles, your joints need more movement. They're more tight and stiff than any other types of people. So stretch and breathe. That's important. And breathing for the nervous system, stretching for the musculoskeletal system is really, really helpful for your stress that's there. Prioritizing your day, because your mind needs to be organized, and you're usually people who are so busy and have just huge to-do lists. So make sure you're organized and prioritize the things, the big wins that you can get done that's there, so you can get your dopamine hit, you can feel good throughout the day. And a reminder to stop and eat. Guys, probably many listening to this like, oh yeah, whoops, I forgot lunch today because I was so busy prioritizing and trying to change the world. This is crusaders who want to go up to the top of the mountain and change the world. So if you're a crusader, make sure you grab some food, take a moment at least for yourself, and reflect on your day and how awesome and amazing you are. If you're a guardian, this is a beautiful time just to have some light meals coming towards dinner time. Your body doesn't process food anywhere near as well at the end of the day, and tends to end up more storage of things in your body that you don't want. So have a lighter dinner, have a bigger breakfast, and enjoy that physiology as you flow throughout the day. Take some time for yourself. You guys are the most generous people out of everybody, and you often give so much time to make sure others have what they need, to make sure others are feeling good. Please take some time for yourselves. Hang out with some low maintenance friends so you don't have to think or be there for others, and take some self-care time for you, because you need it to continue to be resilient for others and support them in the ways that you do so selflessly. The sensors have smaller frames than any other type of person. They're very often taller and slimmer. They need to stay warm. You guys psychologically perform so much better when you're warm. So your physiological body dictates significantly more than anyone else your psychological responses, and that includes reducing the sensory stimulus. So if there's too many lights on or too much sounds going on, too many people, if it's too people-y out there is a common thing that we hear from sensors. In fact, there's some shirts I think going around now, it's too people-y out there. They're the sensors. If you see someone walking around in that shirt, you've got a sensor on your hands. So please stay warm, pop on a scarf, pop on a beanie, pop on a jacket, an extra one, even if you're around, and you'll notice the difference when you start to reduce your stress and have increasing your resilience just from staying warm and reducing the amount of flashy lights around you. And if you're sitting here as a connector, please just go and hang out with some people. You guys are literally built for hanging out with others. You connect, you're social. You are by nature the classic definition of an extrovert, which means you need external energy to fuel your brain to work. Whereas most others on the bottom of the curve, especially here, are more introverted. Even though they're social people, they don't need to have external stimulus to function really well at their optimal state. You guys do. You need to have other people around. So go hang out with people, pick up the phone, give someone a call, go hang out, go join a fun community, have a laugh, connect as you guys will be in your flow, and reduce your stress as soon as you get there. And of course, it's really helpful to move your body as much as you can as well. So they're just a few little tips to be in flow, to reduce your stress and improve your resilience for each of the different health types. Again, you can find that in your app, just under the two little side nav menus, and up the top it will tell you what your health type is there. Of course, the information in your app is just for you specifically, but that health type is just an easy starting point that we've found over all the years of doing this, where people can just resonate really quite quickly and easily to that. So tomorrow, just a quick recap, we're going through mindfulness and mental well-being. We're really understanding and diving deeper into the social aspects of how we connect with others and ourselves, the external factors and how they actually impact us significantly with our mind, how we're actually made up and what that means for us, and our genius and our natural talents and the things that we actually do and we're here to do on the planet, the capacity we have to live in our purpose and our genius and our flow all the time. So this is what we've got coming tomorrow, and we're really excited to share all the things that we can with you. And we hope that these conversations have been really meaningful and really helpful in your journey along the way to on this journey of health and happiness with all of us together. So again, thank you for allowing us to be here with you on this journey to encompass all that is. And I'm right now going to switch gears and welcome Anne Larson back to the conversation. Anne's been incredible here, just taking us through our meditations every day to stop and dive deep and connect back in with who we are. So Anne, I'm going to hand over to you for a reflection on today. Again, thank you all for being here. After we've had a session with Anne, we've got a beautiful guest, Dr. Lorena Law, who's going to be sharing with us all around stress and resilience. So please hang around for that. She's an incredible speaker, an incredible medical doctor that's going to be able to help our awareness be even more open for things that we can do to help us on our journey. And we've got, after Lorena's session, we've got another session that's coming up to be able to move our bodies, if we haven't done that already, to reduce our stress, increase our resilience, with Andrew Chadwick that's dialing in from Australia today. So please stick around, clear your schedules, 3:30 to 5 p.m. every day. And on that note, Anne, I'll hand over to you to take us into a meditation for now. Thank you so much all for being here. We appreciate you so much.
Welcome to our meditation and reflection on stress and resilience. Now is a time when you have the opportunity to reflect on what was that like to spend the last day or days or weeks or months reflecting on the vision that you've created for how you want to be in this world in a way that can be as resilient as possible when life throws us some unexpected adversity or just any major life event that causes stress. So thank you for being back. Now we're going to bring ourselves into the present moment. Remember, if it's possible, to be able to close your eyes, but if not, just be as present as you can be with my voice. So let's just start by pushing your feet into the floor, knowing that you are in the here and now, that you are in your body, in this moment. And now I would like you to take your attention to your breath. Remember, we are not consciously changing the rhythm of our breath. We're simply paying attention. If you can, take the in-breath and the out-breath through your nose. Remember, really be part of. If you can, take the in-breath and the out-breath through by noticing what your breath feels like on the in-breath, what it feels like on the out-breath. Can you feel something different? Does it feel warmer or cooler as it's coming in or out of your breath? Just notice how your breath feels on the out breath coming out of your nostril onto your upper lip. So when you're feeling that you have that internal
Just
focus,
notice
how your breath feels on the out
We're
breath
now
coming
going
out
to
of
take
your attention back to seeing that vessel on a large body of water, on the ocean, or on a big lake if you
on
would
the out
prefer.
breath
We're now
coming
going
out
to
of
take
your
your attention back to
this vessel,
seeing
which
that
is taking
vessel
you
on
through
life.
a large body
As
of
you've
water
spent the day
on the
contemplating
ocean or on a
that
big
breath
lake if
feels
you
on
would
the out
prefer
breath
it
now
coming
going
out
to
of
take
your
your
reflect on
attention
that
back
now
to
this vessel,
seeing
which
what
is
is that vessel like? How comfortable is it? How efficient did you make it? How productive is it on your vessel? Vessel.
Seeing
How much
what
do you
is
want to
that
share
vessel
your
like
time
on that
How
vessel.
comfortable is it? How
Are there
efficient
times
did you
when you
make
invite
it
people very
on your
close and
vessel?
onto that vessel?
Or is this more about
Vessel.
seeing
How much
that
do you
you
share
share
your
your
people
time
around
on
you?
How comfortable is it?
Who come
How
with you on that
efficient did you
journey?
make
You
it
invite people very
on the
close
boat,
and
but
onto
you
that
know
vessel?
that they're just there?
Or
is this
maybe
more
there's a
about
whole
vessel?
seeing
Maybe
how
there's
much
just
you
a
share
huge amount of people all there. You know that you've got all this support. Perhaps you feel like everyone in the world is with you in this journey. What was that like for you? And how did that feel? How did that feel imagining what that was like to have your vessel being this very important element of how you go through life? Did that make you become more conscious of that? And what did you decide when we talked about taking care and developing connection and purpose and some radical self-care? What did that look like for you when we looked at the way that we are maintaining this amazing vessel that we have in this life? Was there anything that you decided you already got 5 stars for? I'm really good at that. My connections are great. I have people I can reach out to all the time. Or I already know my body is my temple and I'm really cautious about what I eat and what that means for me. And I really love nourishing my body with food. I take care of myself. I really enjoy and it really increases my health and well-being when I see my favourite health practitioner, whoever that may be. What about caring for yourself with your thoughts? Did you notice that? Were you being careful? Were you caring? Did you notice those thoughts? Did you notice whether you were kind to yourself? What about with sleep? Did you notice that you were caring for yourself by ensuring that you had enough sleep? And did you move your body? And if your answer to these are, actually, I think I could do a better job, then know that to build this thing that we call resilience, it's very multifaceted, and caring in this way for yourself is essential. So if you haven't been able to do that, right now in your mind, create a vision of how that might look if you were doing that. And if you are doing that, see yourself as your optimal self because you're already taking that care. See yourself as reaching your potential. You can imagine this again as a coloured ball of energy in the middle of your body. It's just glowing. It's glowing with such vibrancy. It can be any colour you want. This energy that belongs just to you. And what about connection? Were you able to notice how many connections you had in your life and how you connected with people? What connections were the most important to you? How you feel like you would reach out if you needed to. When the seas get rough on this ocean of life, who would you have to reach out to? For some of you, that will seem quite easy. For others of you, that might seem quite difficult. And in that case, think about just a health professional. What kind of network can you start to get in place that will do that? Are there any groups that you can enjoy? Find something you love to do and go and do that with some other people that also love doing that. That's often a really great start. So if you feel like, yes, I am connected, imagine that the other energy from those people around you are actually feeding this amazing ball of energy. As you give out that light and that energy, it is also coming back to you from the people around you, constantly increasing that resilience. And what about making meaning and purpose? Were you able to reflect on that? What are your purposes? How did you feel like you were living up to that? When we're hit by the major waves of life, those things that we call major life events, having a purpose can just hold us in such great stead and keep us going, just helping us know that in this moment there's something that I'm doing that is worthwhile. And that may just be being kind to the people around you. Really the most important thing, being kind, creating more peace in the world. What are you doing? Is it time for you to expand your purpose? If we're talking about this vessel on this ocean of life, do you need to grow some of these? Would you like to grow that purpose? Would you like to grow the way that you are making meaning of life? If that's the case, how are you going to do that? Do you want to join with some other people to get that happening? Do you want to just make a plan for yourself? How would you like to do that? How will you grow your purpose? So now I want you to just imagine in your mind's eye, there you are, you're on the ocean. And to start off with, it's just plain sailing. The weather is lovely. And there you are, that higher self, the observer, your higher consciousness, however you perceive, that part of you that knows. What's happening? How are you enjoying that life around you? How are you managing as you are sailing through life and then all of a sudden the wind picks up? What happens? We talked about that. Your nervous system will get turned on to a certain extent. And we'll be ready for action. How confident do you feel in yourself to be ready for that action? How capable do you believe that you are to grow? How able do you think you are to accept what is happening in the moment? I love the words of a therapy style called acceptance and commitment therapy. And I love that because first of all, we have this essential element of I accept myself and my situation as it is. Or do you find that you go more into resistance? It's hard. Sometimes it feels like I can't possibly put up with this. How could this happen? but of course it is happening, and that's the acceptance. And when we're in that place of acknowledging what is happening, then we are able to have some meta perspective, some metacognition, and then we can ask ourselves the question, what can I do about this now? What is within my control? And maybe for you in that moment, the only control you have is to take your attention back to your breath. Well, that's a wonderful strategy. So then what do I commit to? Re-engage with what's important to you. What is it that you want to be and want to create from this, whilst accepting the moment? And of course, this is why mindfulness is such a beautiful mode of being in the world, of living our life, living a mindful life, because of those two essential elements, that I am aware, I'm aware of the present moment, and I am in that present moment without judgment. And again, that can feel very difficult if you're having a lot of negative emotion. But if you can look at that with no judgment, then what we see is that possibility opens up for you. So now just take your mind back to seeing yourself in fair weather. You're on your boat, it's amazing, you've been looking after it, it's so great. And now take some breaths, push your feet back into the floor. Take 3 lovely deep breaths in through your nose and out through your nose. If you would like to do a whooshing out breath, please feel free at this point as well. Noticing your feet on the floor, noticing the noise around you, any activity. And then when you're ready, open your eyes, situate yourself back in the here and now and the environment that you're in. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Anne, for another beautiful meditation. We are very, very grateful to have your presence here on this summit and throughout the whole 10-day challenge. And thank you all for just joining in, following along, for diving deep and reflecting after a busy day, no doubt, wherever you are in the world. We really appreciate this journey together. So we're all here for mental health. We're all here to support each other. And today specifically, we're here to talk more about stress and resilience. And so this next guest that we have on is an amazing speaker, Dr. Lorena Law. She is talking today about optimizing mental well-being and how we can manage stress by managing your energy. So the summary here, any demand that we have for the body for change results in stress. Regularly recharging our energy banks helps us to build resilience to stress. So finding your foundation and healthy habits that work best for you is what this conversation is all about. Dr. Lorena Law is a medical doctor with over 20 years of experience in health, wellness, and the fitness industries. She's trained in nutritional, functional, and integrative medicine. Dr. Law is board certified in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, and is also a member of the Australasian Society of Lifestyle Medicine. Her focus on utilising evidence-based lifestyle medicine strategies to address chronic disease and to improve health span led her to co-found Choice Sum Health Clinic, a private medical practice providing personalised care and health coaching to support healthy behaviour change. Her interest in fitness and performance has awarded her championships in powerlifting and Muay Thai fitness competitions. These accomplishments contribute to her philosophy of walking the talk rather than talking the talk. So without any further ado, I'd love to welcome to the conversation today Dr. Lorena Law. Lorena, thank you so much for being here with us today and for sharing all your genius and wisdom with us.
Thank you so much, Brett, and thank you so much for inviting me to this wonderful cause. I'm really happy to be able to support and to be a part of this. So I really want, and I'm very honored to be able to speak at this event. It's such an important topic, and I think we can't talk about it enough. So again, thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Absolutely. Over to you, Lorena. We're enjoying the session, so thank you so much, and I encourage everyone to dial in. Thank you.
So let me share my screen. Okay. So the reason why I really like to talk about this topic is because when I first started medical school 20 years ago, a lot of my mentors and seniors would comment and say that stress actually underlies a lot of chronic conditions. So as a GP and as an integrative GP, I wanted to share with you today how I actually approach stress. The problem with being a medical student is that if one of my patients didn't really have a clinical diagnosis or a depression or a mood disorder, there's very little in the training that we actually are trained to do in terms of managing a patient's stress. And so often stress became a bucket diagnosis because we didn't really have a pill that we could prescribe for. And we know in medical research that over 90% of illness that is chronic is related to stress. So there's this underlying chronic condition that we're not really able to address. And we didn't really learn about much of that in medical school. So really the question is, what am I doing here today talking about stress? So let's actually go back and understand stress a little bit more. And so hopefully we're on the same page about this and we can start to really think about the impact it has on our lives. So actually in the 1900s, there was a medical doctor, he's an endocrinologist, and he actually defined stress as a non-specific response of the body to any demand for change. So he also actually had a theory about stress, and he first described something called the general adaptation syndrome. So you see here on this graph, as the first block in the column, there is actually something called homeostasis. So homeostasis is actually when our body is in an equilibrium, a physiological equilibrium, and this is a healthy level to be. However, if we actually start to face stress or when something is challenging us, so for example, take our day-to-day modern living. Maybe we got up late and the alarm clock went off too late, and all of a sudden now we're late for work. So this is some of the examples of modern day challenge. And this is what we call the alarm stage or the immediate stage when we're facing a stress. For example, so if we go back 1,000 years, our ancestors may have suddenly faced a predator. Maybe it was a tiger that they came across, and all of a sudden they actually are now in this alarm stage. So what happens in this alarm stage? Well, your heart races, your palms get sweaty, you start to really focus on where the danger is and where the negative stimulus is, because you have to survive. And this is actually an inbuilt response that we have, and it's probably made us survive to this day. So the first stage, or the initial stage, is when our body is actually releasing stress hormones called cortisol and adrenaline from our adrenal glands. So what this does is that it actually increases the energy and resources that we need to either run away from danger, or it means that we stay and we fight the fight. And this is actually a really important physiological stage to recognize, is the alarm stage. Now, as we go through this stage, the third stage is the resistance stage. Now, in this stage, actually, we start to normalize some of this response. And our blood pressure, which was high in the alarm stage, or a heart rate that was high, actually starts to come back to normal. However, our body is still on hyper alert. So we're still able to fight if we need to, but actually we're starting to return back to normal. So this is actually a normal situation if the stress that we are facing has been removed. However, what happens if the stress continues? So what happens if you are in an environment that you don't like working? Or what happens if you're in a relationship? Or what happens if you're in a physical environment that's not right for you? That could be stressful for a body. And when that happens, the hormones are still elevated, it's still high, cortisol levels are still high, but actually your body starts to adapt to this stress. And it adapts actually without you necessarily knowing that it's adapting to this new level of norm. Now, if we actually continue in this prolonged stress, we get to this exhaustion stage. And some of the symptoms that we might experience in this stage of exhaustion could be fatigue, It could be increased pain or inflammation. We may have changes in our mood. We can become depressed. We can also have problems sleeping. We lack energy, and our immune system may be compromised. And we may find ourselves finding it difficult to recover from infection. So no wonder when we think about stress, we think about bad stress. And we also have a common term, which we say distress. Oh, I'm in distress. But actually, let's take a look at a different side of stress through a different lens. There's another curve called the Yerkes-Dodson curve, which actually was developed by some psychologists. And they actually describe the relationship between stress and performance. So if you actually look at this curve, at the minimum level of pressure, there's actually not much performance. This could be a situation where we're just really bored. However, as the level of pressure actually improves to test our skills, our performance will rise. And it will actually continue to increase because remember, in that alarm stage, we're able to harness a lot of resources from the hormones that are being released to allow us to access that. So as cortisol goes up, our performance actually increases. So the level of mental and physical arousal is high, and it actually meets the demands that are required to meet that stress. But only up to a certain point, because as you will see, once you get past a certain point where the pressure is maximal, our performance actually starts to fall. And that's when we experience burnout or breakdown. So when we actually have sufficient amounts of energy, we're able to meet our demands and perform well. And we call this eustress. So I got a chance to experience some of this in my powerlifting championships as I represented Hong Kong powerlifting. And I understood what it was to train and lift heavy weights because I had to win for my team. So sometimes eustress actually can be a positive learning experience. It can help us to develop skills, and it can also help us to grow and perform better. So let's actually go back and recap on stress. So we talked about stress as a non-specific response. We talked about it being real or perceived, and we also talked about it being short or long. So as a GP, I was actually curious also, not just how stress is affecting our body and what happens, but also the sources of stress that we face from day to day. And it's important to address that because we are people, after all, with jobs, relationships, goals, and things that are important to us. And even though people come with symptoms, it's also important to understand what underlies some of these symptoms. So let's take a look at what could be some of the sources of stress that are in our day-to-day. And since the discovery of electricity and having light 24/7, we actually now have changes in our circadian rhythm. And sometimes we're actually traveling across countries and also working shift work. So instead of being able to sleep at nighttime and waking up early in the morning, that becomes upside down. So shift work across time zones, these actually are changes that don't match with the day-to-day. So the other type of stress now we talked about is work and cultural related stresses. So we may have a lot of pressures at work. Perhaps we're in a job that we are no longer excited about, or we're not really getting the satisfaction from the things that we're doing. That could also be a source of stress because it doesn't necessarily have to be the same response from each person. We all actually perceive stress differently. So what might be stressful for one person isn't for another. And so we also have an individual response to that. But what about the environment that we live in? We actually live in a situation like Hong Kong, for example, where I am. We're often looking at the air quality index, looking to see, is it high today? Because if it's high, then older people with lung problems will have to wear a mask to travel or go outdoors. We don't actually always have access to fresh air. Types of food that we eat. If we're eating foods that are good for our bodies, that are whole foods full of nutrients, because food are not just calories, they're also sources of information. they can affect the way that our bodies work, our genes are expressed. And so you might have learned about this also early on in the last couple of days, how food is not just calories, but it's information for our body. So if we're eating foods that are ultra processed, packaged, high in refined sugars, high in saturated fats, and if we're also drinking a lot of excessive alcohol, that increases inflammation in our body, because we now understand that whatever we put into our body affects our gut health, and that also has an impact on the way our genes are expressed. We are also not moving as much anymore, even though many times our bodies are designed to move, and that can also create an increased risk of chronic illness. And since the pandemic, we've also have travel restrictions. So it's become very, very difficult to connect with family, travel to see friends, and we can become socially isolated. And that really can become a stress for a lot of us. So knowing some of these root causes or some of these triggers, we have to actually understand some of the symptoms and how it impacts on each individual. So on the left here, you'll see some of the chronic conditions that are often associated with chronic stress. So heart disease, diabetes, stroke, cancer, dementia, these are all the major chronic diseases where we're spending a lot of money on. However, a lot of these conditions can actually be prevented or even reversed. So instead of just looking at the symptoms, which is like the tip of the iceberg, we need to dig a little bit deeper to understand all the different types of sources and triggers and how each of us respond to stress differently. So like I said before, as a GP, when I first started training and understanding about lifestyle medicine, we actually do need to understand about the different areas that support our health, because having a really solid, good foundation in your lifestyle habits actually helps to support your recovery from stress. Because if we're eating well, we're exercising enough, we're sleeping enough, we actually have good relationships, we're able to refill that bucket as it gets emptied with stress. But we need to be more specific about that, because sometimes what happens is that if we become too general, our patients and ourselves actually feel a bit helpless, because there's so many different types of strategies. Do we do breath work? Do we sleep more? Do we take a vacation? What do we do? And we sometimes get a little bit stuck and overwhelmed. So in order to be able to personalize some of these recommendations, you can actually go to your Shea app, and on the dashboard, you'll actually see a section, and under the section, you'll see lifestyle. And so what's great about this is that based on your particular health type, you'll recognize the different types of body you have. And what's important is that sometimes people are early birds. So we like to be active early in the day. And then other times people are night owls. So they might actually be more creative at the end of the day. So different types of activities are important for us to perform. And knowing when to do those activities are important. And there are others where they can actually be active at any time. So sometimes we need to understand that even though we need to exercise or be able to stay active, there are different times that are more suited for us, and that could rejuvenate us rather than prolong stress. So movement is important, and some people actually are mindful when they move, and that could be something that's really suitable for them, and that's something that they would enjoy. However, for some, their movement might actually need to be a little bit more gentle because their bodies are different, and they may have stiffer joints, or they may have joints that actually are weaker. So they need to understand how to warm up before they move. And then some people, to be mentally active and to have good mood or be creative, they actually have to move first. So when you actually go into the detail section of your Shea app, you'll actually see the different times and the explanations as to what's good for your body and how to move and what types of exercise is helpful for you. What about mental health? What about mindfulness? And also, what about our brain function? How can we focus better? Well, one of the great things is that you're able to see at different times of the day the different sections about being mindful, being able to move, being creative, the times that you should take a break and rest and focus on sleep. So there are different sections actually that are specific to your health type. And we also always have strengths in our natural abilities. And sometimes for us, some people actually learn better when they're sitting down in a quiet space. And then other times people actually learn better if they're if they're able to experience that particular new idea. So we all learn differently, and understanding how we learn, how we recover actually also helps to mitigate some of the stress. And the type of environment that we live in is also important, because our bodies also respond to our physical environment. Some people actually like to be in nature. They are better suited to be in warm weather, or they have to find ways of keeping warm. And if they are actually in a situation where the weather is cold, that also creates a physical stress. And knowing how to mitigate that is also something important. And you'll see that also in your particular health type. And also finally, if we are creatures that are built for connection. And so finding relationships or communities that support us and that rejuvenate us, where we can actually feel supported, is important. So find your tribe and understand how you interact with others and how you need support. So here in summary, we could see that stress is a result of any demand for change. And it's important to regularly recharge your energy bank to help us build the resilience to stress. So finding your foundation in the healthy habits that work best for you and are specific to you are really important. So I like to talk about stress actually in terms of finding ways to increase your energy. And this is important today because we all have busy schedules. So sometimes it's difficult to guess what actually rejuvenates us the most. And if we're able to understand today and focus on a few points on how you want to manage your energy to balance your stress, and using lifestyle as a foundational toolkit, I'd like to actually ask you to reflect on this today, to understand, how do you like to cope with stress? What actually energizes you? What supports you? And it doesn't need to be necessarily going on a vacation. It can actually be just taking a deep breath for 5 minutes. It can just be taking a walk for 5 minutes. We all have different ways where our bodies like to be able to manage stress.
Lorena, thank you so much for an amazing insights. I really appreciate your wisdom and your just genius that you have. I think you're an amazing human at the best of worlds. The stuff that you've accomplished personally in your life is phenomenal, and the wisdom you have around stress and resilience is just so impressive. So we're very grateful for you to be here today to share your wisdom and knowledge with us, so that we can be more aware about things that we can do to change our journey. Thank you for helping personalize that too, so that we can all really understand what we can do in our unique selves to take those steps forward. And I just wish everybody that today they can really dive deeper into those things for themselves and really support that stress journey for themselves and increase their energy and improve their resilience. So Lorena, thank you again so much for being here, and we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to switch gears, everybody, into a session now with Andrew Chadwick, and he is here dialing in from Australia. Today is all about reducing our stress, improving our resilience, and one of the great ways to do that is through movement and moving our bodies. He is here running a session with us today, specifically around, if you don't move it, you lose it. So I hope that everybody's ready to go with some sort of workout gear or some sort of clothing that's appropriate. Doesn't matter where you are. As long as you're not driving a car, please join in. We invite you to dive deep here with Andrew today and just move your body in maybe ways you haven't done it before. Try it at home. You're in the privacy of your own home. It doesn't matter. Have a go. Get amongst it. This is our 10 days to do this. I'm going to hand over to Andrew now, and I hope you enjoyed the session. It should be fun.
Hi team, my name's Andrew Chadwick, and welcome to the Peace of Mind movement session that we'll go through today. In this session, we're going to build our body's ability to be more resilient And with that, the intent is to help our bodies be more resilient through different planes and different ranges of motion. The simple overarching principle is this: if we don't move it, we lose it. So in this session, we're going to explore lots of different ranges of motion, directions, and different orientations to gravity. Before we get started, I'd like to implant some postural awareness cues that you'll hear me use regularly throughout this session. The first one relates to our feet, and it is literally, imagine you are standing on train tracks. So you'll hear me say a lot, feet on train tracks. Now that sets the rest of our body up to be able to be in a better postural position. From there, I'd like you to think of your hip as a big bucket of water. If you were to tilt your hip like that, all the water would spill out the front. If you were to do it like that, it would spill out the back. So we're going to fill that hip bucket up to the brim, and we're going to keep it full of water. The next one is, I'd like you to think about your shoulder blades being tucked into your back pockets. So imagine you're wearing your favorite pair of jeans, and in that you've got your back pockets. You're just trying to tuck the points of those shoulder blades into those back pockets. And last but not least, I'd like you to keep as much space as possible between your ears and your shoulders. So to quickly run through those again, and I'd like you to keep these in mind with everything we do today: feet on train tracks, hip bucket full, shoulder blades in back pockets, and then that space between the shoulders and the ears. With that in mind, let's prepare our bodies to get moving. So team, the first thing we're going to do is bring some awareness to our brain, to where our body is in space, and we're going to start with a very simple hand-based ankle scrub. We're just going to do 20 seconds. All you're going to do is stand there and just scrub around your ankle, applying as much pressure as you like, but just scrubbing, 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 twisting and scrubbing. 2, 1. Take that to the other side. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Scrubbing. Just giving that a nice scrub. The back, the front and the sides. 5 seconds left here. 3, 2 and 1. Next thing we're going to do is take that scrub up to our knees. So simply finding a knee, outside, to the front, up into the back of the knee. Even here we can think about feet on train tracks and keeping that space between the neck and the shoulders. Scrubbing. 2, 1. Let's do that on the other side. So we're just doing this for 20 seconds in each part that we go to. Don't forget to get up into the back of the knee, the sides, give that a good scrub, and the front. 2, 1, working our way up the body now. Let's get into the hip. So we'll do one side and just the front of the hip and the side. We can use both hands to get into the back of the hip, the side of the hip, and that bump on the front of the hip. You might notice if you're doing this, your heart rate's coming up a little bit. That's a good thing. 4, 3, 2, 1. Simply other side. Just getting into these areas, giving them a good, think of it as waking up. Very simple technique. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now let's take this up to our shoulders. So we'll come up into the shoulder area, make a fist like this if you want, or you can do open palms and just give that a scrub onto the chest, come across that collarbone, even into the back there, just giving that a scrub. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Changing sides. Whatever feels good to you here, you're in charge of how much pressure, the speed, and I'd like you to think about that for our whole session today. You're in charge of how big, how fast, and how intense you move. 3, 2, and 1. Let's move on to some activations. So our first activation, we're going to come down onto the ground and we're going to do a move that we call an animal flow, a beast. So our knees are in line with our hip or just in front, both arms in line with shoulders. And if this is you today, that's fantastic. Push the feet, push the hands into the floor. If that's too easy, lift the knees, and we're just going to hold this for 10. And then relax down there. Reset your central nervous system a bit. Don't forget, push the feet into the ground, push your hands into the floor. 2, 1, we're going to do that again, 10 seconds. How much tension can you create in your body here? 3, 2, 1. We're going to rest down here. We're going to do this another 2 times, team. So pushing, go. Those knees about 1 inch off the floor. Push, push, push hard as you can. You should be shaking a little bit. 2, 1. Last one. Don't forget to give me that space between the shoulders and the ears. You ready? 3, 2, and 1. Let's go. Three, 2, and 1. Recover there. The next move we're going to do a crab. So this time we're going to go chest up in our activation position. So, sitting on our backsides, fingers facing behind us. Easy way to find this. Foot in line with knee. Bend both knees. Nice and tall through the chest, keeping that shoulder, the space between the shoulders and the ears. Push the floor, feet and hands. Now just spill a little bit of water out of the front of that hip bucket there. 2, 1, rest down here. If it's too much to lift your hip, feel free to lift your hip, to leave your hip on the floor. And push. And recover. 2 more to go like this. Push the feet, push the hands, and go. Imagine the sun's coming up in the morning and we're just looking at the rising sun. 2, 1, rest down. 1 more time like that. 3, 2, 1, go. Push. Hands and feet, pushing, pushing, pushing. 2, 1, and time. Next, we're going to take that activation into a side plank. So elbow under shoulder, 1 foot in front of the other. Still keep that hip bucket full and keep that space between the shoulders and the ears. 2, 1, lifting up. This time you're going to drive this hand into the floor and both feet into the floor, keeping that hip bucket full. Rest there. A little 5-second pause just to reset. 2, 1, back up. Push the hands, push the feet, keep that space. 3, 2, 1, coming down, just resting. This is just a central nervous system reset. 2, 1, go. Breathing. 3, 2, 1. Nice, we're going to do this one more side on this time, and then we're just going to switch to the other side. Ready, set, up we go. Is that hip bucket full? Are you keeping that space between your ears and your shoulders? And recover down there. Okay, change that to the other side. So setting up on the other side, remember, hip bucket full. You can also think about tucking those shoulder blades into the back pockets here. Up we go, team. Just focus. Can I push the feet any harder into the floor? Can I push that hand any harder into the floor? Recover there. 2, 1. Up we go. Pushing, being really strong here, being active. Think about being active. Recovering down. 2 to go like that. Yes, your heart rate should be coming up a bit. Up we go. 5, 3, 1 more like that. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Up we go, team. Last one here. 3, 2, and 1. Nice work. Next team, all we're going to do, you can stand, sit, come onto your knees. We're just going to do a little bit of breath work to wake us up. So the first one is, we're going to breathe in through the nose and then exhale forcefully 3 times. Ready? Breathing in. And then breathing in. One more. Now we're going to switch that over to breathing in with that 3 times forcefully and then letting a nice big breath out as we move into that exhale. So breathing in, out. Breathing in. One more. So hopefully team, you're feeling really good and ready to go now. We're going into a 4-move circuit. We're going to do each move for 40 seconds and then we're going to have 10 to 15 seconds recovery depending on how we're feeling. We're going to do the same moves twice. So the first time we go through the circuit, we'll have 15 seconds recovery. The next time, we'll reduce that just a little bit. Remember, it's up to you how fast, how big, and the intensity that you move at. The first move we do is going to be a squat to plank. So feet on train tracks, hip bucket full, shoulder blades in back pockets. We're going to sit down as far as we feel we can. From there, whatever we need to do to get our hands on the floor. Now you can choose here, jump back, stick a plank, or step back, stick a plank. From there, either jump and stand or step and stand. The next move after that, we're going to sit. Whatever we need to do here. So we're going to come up, rotate, up, step up, down, down, whatever we need to do here. And we're going to keep doing that on that side. So we'll rotate, up, up, come up, down, down, down. The next set we do, we'll go to the other side and just see if there's a difference. Up, up, step up, down, down, sit down from one side to the other. From there, we're going to do a pretty cool move called a banana roll. So we're going to be hollow on our backs and we're going to roll over. And then the tricky bit is we're going to roll back and then go to the other side. Okay, so I'll remind you of all of those as we go through. Let's get into our circuit. Okay team, so here we go. Ready to set up with our first move, our squat to plank. Remember, 40 seconds, feet on train tracks, hip bucket full. Shoulder blades in back pockets. 3, 2, 1, 40 seconds, let's go. So sitting, placing the hands, stepping back or jumping back, up to you. Set here in your plank for 1 second, then come forward, stick your squat, up you go. Down, step or jump back, stick, come up, stick your squat, up you come. We've got 17 seconds left here, team. Stick, bang. As you push up in your squat, try and push your feet into the floor. 4, 3, 2, 1, and steady there. Coming down, we've got our 15-second recovery to set up for the next move. If you remember, we're going to over, bang, step up. Ready? 3, 2, 1, off we go. So, stick, come up, stand up, bang. Now we're going to lower down, back, down, untangle yourself or tangle yourself, and turn around, sit up nice and tall here. Back again, same side, bang. Hip bucket full at the top, step. So as you can see, we're coming from the ground to a standing position. This is something that we tend not to practice a lot as adults. So it's a really important move for us to reconsider and re-explore to be resilient and recover there. Ready to go to the other side? Whew, that heart rate might be coming up just a little bit. 5 seconds, breathe while you can. 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. 1, 2. Is one side easier than the other? Oh, did I step back with the wrong foot then? That's interesting. So 1, 2, 3. I stepped back with the wrong leg that first rep. Good. Just notice, it's not right or wrong, guys, how you come up and down. Does one side feel easier than the other? And it will, because we have a movement tendency to go to one side more times than the other. 3, 2, and 1. All right, we're going to get into those banana rolls. Really important here, when your face is up, squish your back into the floor, your lower back. When your face is down, squish your tummy into the floor. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Roll. And then roll. Stick your back into the floor there. Roll to the other direction now. Roll. And roll. Just keep moving at a pace where you can focus on doing it well. Different head positions, really good for us. 3, 2, and 1. Going back into the squat to plank. So we're doing one more time through this circuit, team. Now remember, the recovery periods between are going to come down a bit. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Down we go. How full can you keep your hip bucket? How much space can you create between your ears and your shoulders? I don't care how fast you go. I care about how well you move. Making each rep as good as you possibly can. Remember, you've got options here. You don't need to jump. You can always use that step. Try and set this bit up really well. So come up nice and tall through that squat. 3, 2, and 1. Coming down into our sit or our kneel. Our sit to stand, going through that kneeling pattern. 3, 2, 1. Over, up, bang. Here, nice and tall. How tall can you get? All of those postural things we said at the start. Bang. How can you get down? Now this might be a little bit more difficult for you. You might have to maybe put a hand on the floor, come down and support yourself. That's great. Whatever you can do. If you need to come over here, set up here, come up tall here, whatever you can do at the moment, I promise you that if you practice this move, you will become more resilient in getting up and down off the floor. 2, 1, recover, we'll go to the other side. Let's see if I can get my reps right this time. 3, 2, and 1. Ready? Here we go. Up, up, bang, bang. Whatever that looks like for you is perfect, guys. Again, if you need to, set, lean to get up. If you need to use that upper body, perfect. Up, up. Whatever that looks like for you, take your time. Remember, you're in charge of how big, how fast, and at what intensity you're moving at. At the top, just double check those postural elements. 4, 3, 2, 1. Recover there. Last time I promised banana rolls. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Off we go. Try and use as little momentum as possible. Now again, what you might need to do here is bend the knees, roll, use a hand, roll. This is really important. This level here is still perfectly good because we're rolling our head in a different orientation to gravity, which is really good for that little bone that swims in your inner ear and helps us tell us when we're level. So whatever that looks like for you guys, perfectly acceptable. 2, 1, and recover there. Okay, that's our first circuit done. We're going to move on to our second circuit. We just got to go one time through these moves, and they're just building different positional strengths to what you might be used to. So team, in this circuit, you're going to need to find a wall, maybe a door jamb. The first move we're going to do is a multi-directional pull and squat. So find your door jamb, pull, should make that noise if you mind rig, and you're going to sit nice and tall, drop to where you feel comfortable, come up. But as you're doing it, you're going to keep pulling. And then maybe change, sit, pull. Then maybe change the height and continue doing that. Then we're going to change to the other side. Ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. So pull, create tension, and then you're going to sit, 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 sit to where you feel comfortable. Push down through the 4 corners of your feet, up nice and tall. Now you're in charge of how big, how fast. All I want you to do is keep the tension coming through that arm, keep the shoulder blade tucked into the back pocket, and change where you're pulling the wall every time you do it. If you had other tools that you had access to, like suspension trainers or resistance bands or cables, you could do the same thing here. So wherever you can get to, just feeling that different tension coming through the body, recover. Let's change that to the other side. 3, 2, 1. Feet on train tracks. Did you forget about it? At the bottom, we can really focus on keeping this hip bucket full. Just changing every time. Building resilient tissue by giving it lots of different inputs of strength. Can you push your feet into the floor? Can you keep pulling the whole way up and the whole way down? 8 seconds left here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, nice work team. Now let's do a lunge push. So inside leg to the wall or door jamb. Pushing. We're going to push, keep the pressure on. Sink the back knee towards the floor to where you can. Push through your feet. Come back up. Join me when you're ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Good. And then this time we can reach over with the other arm. Just get to where you can. Come back up. We can reach down with this arm this time and come up. So every time again, I want you to change where you're pushing, but keep pushing. That's the tricky bit. Can you even change the position of your hand? If you're really pushing, your heart rate will come up a bit. 3, 2, and 1. Other side there, guys. Whew. So remember, pushing, hip bucket still counts, feet on train tracks still counts. Push and then sink. If you have access to it, you could even push into the door with your palm facing the same way as your hand. Remember, you can reach over with that top hand. Now this pattern's going to change, but we're still giving this, you're still pushing So we're still giving it lots of different input, which is going to help that resilience in the tissue. So just like you're building a stronger mind, we're also working on a stronger body through resilience. And time there. Okay, this time team, we're going to do a side plank to front step. So we're going to come down on the hands, side plank, back here, hand down if you need it, back to side plank. Ready? Join me when you can. So here, one, if you need the hand down, put it down. If you don't, that's cool too. Just remember, hip bucket full, keep that space. If you need it, take it. If you don't, don't. If you need it on the way back, take it. If you don't, don't. If you need to do this, perfect. Whatever you need to do, team, to get this nice little rotation through the thoracic area, through the thoracic region. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All we're going to do, guys, is take that to the other side. And then we're going to get into our movement recovery. 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Here, double check your posture. So this might be a nice new input for some of us. Nice and tall through here. Keep that space. 15 seconds. 7, 6, 2, 1. Whew. And time. Let's take a chance to breathe. If ever you're doing this, guys, and you need to pause, go and have a break, have some water, feel free to do so. Let's move on to our movement recovery. Let's let the heart rate calm down. Let's get in control of our breathing, and let's really calm that nervous system down. We're going to start off with what I'm calling a mobile pigeon pose. So our mobile pigeon pose, team, if you've done yoga before, you might be familiar with this. We're going to bring left knee just behind left wrist, or wherever you can get to and feel comfortable. Now we're not just going to flop and fold over. We're going to start by twisting our chest, just our chest on our back from one side to the other side. And as we're doing this, we're going to try and control our breathing, keeping the arms long here. What you should notice is there's a change in that tissue stretch through here. Now if that feels good for you and you want to ramp it up a bit, take the right hand, slide it forward, bring it back. Slide it to the side, right side, bring it back, slide it under and to the left side, and bring it back. And just go through that one more time. Forward, right side, left side, and then come up and we'll just change our sides there. So right knee comes behind right wrist. Set yourself up, just get to that first point of stretch, and then shoulders and back pockets. Start with that chest rotation. And then we can take the left arm this time. If that's feeling good, we can slide it forward. Completely up to you, team. Pull it back. We can go to the left hand side and reach. Pull it back. We can go under to the right hand side and reach. Pull it under, and then we can go around that clock one more time, so we can go 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. And last team, but certainly not least, We're going to finish off with 2 minutes of breathing. So this is completely up to you. Highly suggest we do it. We're going to come down onto the back. You can be knees bent, whatever makes you feel comfortable here. I want you to place your hand on your belly. And as you breathe in, lift that belly up to the ceiling. And then breathe out, just let that relax down. And if you can, try and make your out breaths longer than your in breaths. I don't really care what the numbers are. Just focus on extending that exhale. So really focus on breathing out for as long as you can. Comfortably, it shouldn't be stressful. We're letting the body wind down now. Breathing in through the nose if possible. Out through the mouth or nose, it's up to you. Just taking the time to relax, to calm down, to thank yourself for doing this little movement session, for encouraging your body to become more resilient with lots of different strength inputs, lots of different orientations to gravity. 7 seconds, maybe one more nice big breath. And when you're ready, slowly make your way up. Team, thank you for doing this session. I really hope that this challenge goes well for you. My name is Andrew Chadwick. If you'd like to learn more from me or see more of what I do, you can follow me on Instagram at The House of Chatty, and I hope to see you there. Have a great challenge, team.
Chatty, thank you so much for an incredible session. You just take things out of the box all the time, and I hope whoever's been following along to this has really enjoyed just a different way to work out, to move your body, and to really just get amongst this beautiful day that we have around stress and resilience. And there's so many different ways that we can actually enable that to flow throughout our body. So a wrap up for today. Thank you all so much for being here with us. Today was all around stress and resilience on day 3 of the Global Wellness Challenge. I hope you can take some notes as you go here for your own awareness around resiliency, around the recovery and the importance of rest as you recover and refill your resilience tanks, around being in flow during the day with the energy that you put in there. And just a reminder why we're all here, which is, this 10 days is all around awareness for mental health, around finding peace of mind for self, to around receiving wisdom through the experts that are here to share incredible information and insights with us, around empowerment through the tools and technology you have access to understand your unique journey, to around support through the passionate health professionals that are here, ready for you with whatever you need for supporting your mental health journey, to around safety in a community of like-minded souls on a journey towards health and happiness, both personally and as a collective. So I'm Matt Riemann. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a beautiful rest of your day, hopefully in a space of flow,